Hi, guys. Welcome to our final week in our Leadership in the Bible series. So, final week, we are going to talk about the perfect leader, which is obviously Jesus because he was the perfect human. So, we are actually going to immediately jump into a Bible verse to set the stage for what we are going to find out today. So, you can open your Bibles to John 1:1. This is not First John. This is just John. John 1:1 says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Okay, the Word is Jesus, right? So to establish where we are, Jesus is God. So now we're going to jump back in to Genesis 1:27, where it says, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them, male and female, he created them." So, we know two things. Jesus is God, and we are made in God's image, right? So those are our groundwork for what we're going to talk about today. So, when Jesus was walking around here on earth, he was modeling for us what a good leader should be. So he practiced this thing that's called servant leadership. So if you look at that, it seems almost paradoxical to be serving somebody but also leading them, right? But basically, it means that the people that you are leading, you are also serving, right? So let's break it down a little bit. There's going to be two important points that we talk about. So the first thing that is probably the most important thing is if you are trying to practice servant leadership, you have to be willing to do anything that you are going to ask somebody to do. So this doesn't mean that you have to do everything. I want to stress that a servant leader doesn't just take care of all the stuff so they don't have to worry about somebody else doing work. It just means that you are willing to do something that you are asking someone else to do. Like if you are a manager at a store and you are asking somebody to go clean the bathrooms, you would also have to be willing to clean the bathrooms should there be no one else to clean the bathrooms, right? The one way that I saw this a lot, having worked at Best Buy for a long time, I would see managers that would ask somebody to man a register, but if there was nobody available, those managers would go and man a register. Now, that's obviously kind of lower on the totem pole than running everything, but sometimes that's necessary. So that's a really good way to look at servant leadership, is that you are willing to do what you're asking someone else to do. So delegation is super important because you have to, as a leader, be able to give other people tasks to do, because a leader shouldn't be doing all of the work. They should be doing the important up here things and the thinking and all that stuff, and giving those smaller tasks to the people that are following them, right? So the willingness to teach is one way. The willingness to share in a task, or the willingness to help out with it and do a task, goes so much further with people. If somebody knows that you as a leader are willing to get down and dirty and do that thing that you're asking them to do, then they're going to trust in you, right? And the reason I brought up teach is sometimes, a leader will have to model how to do something, right? So the best way to model how to do something is to do it. The other part is that servant leaders also take a lot of care to be a part of those they're leading's lives. So the people that they're leading, they want to be a part of those people's lives, right? You can't just show up every time that you're needed and just be there physically. You have to be present mentally, and you have to show interest in people's personal lives, hobbies, families. What jokes do they like? What music do they listen to? You don't have to know everything about everyone, but you have to create a place where people want to come rather than they feel obligated to come, right? So There is a study that was done. I don't know where, I don't know when, but I've read it everywhere that people are more likely to leave a job from bad leadership than from difficult work. So they feel obligated to come to work because they get paid, but if they hate the leadership they're working under, they're going to find another job. So servant leaders, having this style of leadership that Jesus modeled for us, really makes people want to come to work under you or want to come volunteer under you rather than feel obligated, feel like, oh, I have to do this thing, so I have to be there. They get excited and want to be there. So, those two things that Jesus modeled for us, step back to the first thing we learned in this lesson. Jesus is God, right? So, he was obviously amazing at being a servant leader. And we're going to struggle because, well, we're not God, right? But he did also charge us with doing our best and trying to be servant leaders. So let's jump back into our Bibles for a third time and go to Matthew chapter 20, and we're going to read verses 25 through 28. Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must become your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." So I'm going to read that again. Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them." He's saying, you guys know that the people in charge now make it a point that people know they're in charge, right? They lord it over people. He continues and says, "Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to be great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave." So he's saying, if you guys really want to be great, if you really want to lead people, if you really want to push people to be better, you have to give yourself in service to them. He literally says, if you want to be the best, you have to treat yourself like a slave to other people. And he finishes by saying, "Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and gave his life as a ransom for many." He finishes by saying, you guys have to model what I'm doing, right? That's tough. I know that it's tough. And we're never going to be as good as Jesus. But Jesus knows we can succeed in being servant leaders. If he thought for any moment that we couldn't succeed at that, he wouldn't have asked us to do it. He wouldn't charge his followers to go and be servant leaders. So, above anything else you've learned in this whole series, trust in God, because he knows what he's doing.